The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of Turnbuckle Talk in partnership with thechairshot.com, presented by the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network and in association with IndiePW.com. Turnbuckle Talk is sponsored by collarandelbowbrand.com, where you get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast. Turnbuckle Talk is also partnered with Phoenix at FNXFit.com, where you get 15% off all your health supplements simply by using promo code TBTalkPod. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching at TBTalkPod. Listen on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you catch your favorite programs. And now, pro wrestling fanatics, are you ready? Here are your hosts, Big Joe and Karufel.
All right, another episode of Turnbuckle Talk here. And first of all, thank you to Mr. Richard Bronson Vickery. Oh, I feel weird calling him that. But, thanks, Rick, for our new intro. We no longer have the robot. We have an actual human being to our intro. And also hashtag RB Fitness. That's a fitness program where apparently you can eat all that you want and still stay fit, which I think is a hell of an idea, and I am all for that.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Go and check out the Hameen Media Group where you can listen to Richard Bronson Vickery. And if you're on Facebook, search out the hashtag RBVFitness, where you can say, see, as Big Joe showed you or talked to you there, he told you about this amazing fitness where you can eat absolutely anything. Are you serious right now? I love food.
Yes.
So does Rick.
So much.
And he shares it out all the time, and it is beautiful, some of the food that you actually see there. So make sure you go and check that out. Rick, thank you so much. I truly appreciate what you guys did for us. Hello, Ellie. Beautiful lady. Nice to see you on here.
Yes, it's been a long time since we've seen Ellie. Good to have her in our comments. And of course, as you saw at the beginning, bit of a sad last couple days in the world of professional wrestling. We have lost another legend from our childhood, Karl, Mr. James Harris, of course known as Kamala, a real mainstay in that golden era of professional wrestling when we started watching, and definitely one of those larger than life characters. So I think that'd be the best way to describe Mr. Kamala, larger than life.
Definitely everybody who has listened to this podcast or seen the video cast in the past knows that I am a fan of those big guys. I'm a big guy myself. I always have been. So I gravitated towards those big guys like Kamala, like Bam Bam Bigelow, like, what's his name there? The Big Boss Man.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like that, those big guys. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was even a big guy for a little bit as well, right? So, I mean, I always kind of gravitated towards those guys, and it's a very special place in my heart for those big guys in the world of professional wrestling, and very sad to see another member of our past, of our childhood gone. So on behalf of Big Joe and myself and everybody here at the Turnbuckle Talk podcast, we offer our condolences to the Harris family.
And of course, given what's currently going on and with social media, of course, the rumors, everything running rampant over what have happened, we're not going to speculate on that because we don't know what actually happened. So we're not even going to go there because we have no facts to back it up. And in this
That's
program,
right.
we like to keep things factual as much as possible. All right, Karl. Well, another week has come and gone in the world of professional wrestling. Let us kick off with a segment that is going to be very interesting, I think. And let us talk about Raw Underground and what we've thought about Raw Underground. I'll let you bring up the graphic here, Karl. And
Definitely.
let's talk about this because I think I have possibly an unpopular thought or opinion about this. First of all, what did you think of this thing? I didn't watch the entire show because, as you are all aware now, I do not watch Raw front to back any longer. I'll watch individual segments so that we can talk about it on the program here. But Raw Underground, what did you think of this?
Well, first and foremost, two things. Ellie, yes, it has been a long time, too long. Thank you very much. And if you're in the chat there, you can see afternoon to the boys from the north, says Richard Bronson Vickery. I don't know if you were there at the very beginning, RBV, but thank you so much for that intro. We really appreciate it. We've plugged a few things for you, so hopefully that gets some people over to you as well. Raw Underground. First rule of Raw Underground, you don't talk about Raw Underground.
Whoops, well, we're breaking that rule.
That's kind of how it feels. It's very much so. Just seems like a Fight Club type of situation going on. Looks like they're using just kind of a back part of the performance center with a ring set up with no ropes, like nothing. It's just a raw ring. There's a mat that's down. There's the canvas. There's the side skirts, and that's really about it. And just guys going in there, and this is hard because I don't know if it's actual legit they're fighting or if this is all just kind of raw show.
By the way, Game Changer Wrestling just called and they want their gimmick back.
Right.
That's totally what it felt like to me. This I understand that they are trying to mix things up now. I mean, obviously now, they've had their head in their sand for long enough thinking that they're doing things fine. Obviously, you can tell now that they're realizing, like, hey, we need to start doing something different because what we're doing is not working. But this, Karl, it's not working for me either. It feels like people who aren't cool trying to do something cool. Like having the fake strippers in the background. I like the aspect of using these unknown wrestlers. Obviously, these guys. I'm not going to use the term jobber in this case. These are probably like guys looking for a tryout or something like that. They're using some relatively unknown talent, but the whole thing it's not necessarily like it's like the brawl for all type of a thing here, but they're trying to go for this MMA type presentation, and it just doesn't look good. It looks like they're fake fighting in a wrestling ring without ropes. And then you have Shane McMahon getting his 2 cents in like during the whole time, and it's very distracting. It's like he's trying so hard to be cool when he's not cool. That's how this whole thing feels to me. It feels like they had the right idea, but just completely missed the mark, so to speak.
Definitely. And I mean, it feels like Mr. Shane McMahon there is trying to be a Dana White, so to speak. But yeah, just on that microphone way too much. I mean, I get it. I understand, like maybe some people enjoy listening to some commentary or something that's going on during a fight or something, right? But if you want to make this kind of like underground,
yeah,
and don't have anybody doing some sort of commentary. Just let them go in that ring and just duke it out. Let them just go. There's no point in doing any type of commentary or putting in any 2 cents or trying to do any of that. It takes away from it, to be honest. For me anyways, I find that it takes away from it.
Yeah, because the whole time he's like, oh, look at that, and oh, look at this, and look at that. I'm like, hey, Shane, shut up, and just let them kind of do what they're doing. But I mean,
right?
And even just outside of that, just the actual action in the quote unquote ring doesn't really work for me because. And I've mentioned this before with the whole MMA mixing with professional wrestling. I think it works for somebody who hasn't watched a lot of MMA going on, because when you see a lot of this MMA-ish stuff kind of going on, when it's being done in a professional wrestling context, like for myself, it comes across looking really, really hokey here. Let's see what Rick has to say about this. I really like the idea behind Raw Underground, but in regular WWE fashion, they cram 6 weeks of booking into 6 minutes. Dancing girls, they're to pop a chub. For 70 for Big Joe's right, Shane is not cool anymore. Thank you for seconding the motion, but yeah, I like that they're at least trying different things, but we're not hitting the marks. We're not hitting the marks, right? So
does it have potential? I think it does.
Yeah,
I think it definitely does, but they have to kind of maybe fine tune some things with it. Again, how long has it gone on? I think this is only the first week that it's really gone on, that it's happened. So do we need to maybe give it a couple of weeks before, we make a final judgment and determination on it? Or, yeah, I agree with Ellie there. It's a good idea. I just felt forced. Yeah, very much so. Kind of going along with Rick there as well, saying that they've crammed way too much into a 6 minute,
way too much,
right, program. But I mean, I kind of like the idea. It's different. It's something that we haven't seen in a while, and it's kind of blurring those lines a little bit, so to speak, for people who have just watched 2 hours of a professional wrestling to kind of go to this and go, well, wait a second, is this maybe their training ground? Like, is this, and it's going to kind of blur those lines for people that really aren't inside that bubble, I guess you could say.
Less is more. I think if they would have done little hints of this, throughout the coming weeks, then it could have been something that, could have possibly sparked some interest. Rick asking, who would you guys like to see up for Raw Underground? Right now, I think you keep it to the relatively unknowns. I think especially if they're letting them kind of go a little bit, so to speak, like to land some legit punches and whatnot. We don't want to run into the brawl for all situation, right? I know it's not like a competition. The situation is different, but we don't want our big headline talents getting injured doing a risque segment that might not even last very long.
On my end of things, I think maybe you take some of your guys that talk a big game on the show on Raw, or within the WWE itself. Maybe you take somebody like a Baron Corbin who flaps his gums on social media and Twitter and stuff like that, and maybe kind of throw him into something like this. This whole King Corbin thing just seems to be thrown to the wayside, like unfortunately every King of the Ring since like 95. So maybe this can be an avenue for some of those guys that they've tried to give a push to, but kind of failed with that, and kind of throw them into this, and let's see kind of what they can do. But again, like Big Joe says, right, we run into that situation of are we going to get them injured at all, and then they're off of WWE programming for how long,
Right.
Especially if there's somebody that's in current storyline, then it's going to cause issues.
Yeah, for sure. I think keeping it to the relatively unknowns, I think, is the way to go for the time being, and see if it really kind of catches on, and then you can go more with it if you so choose. But for now, I say tread carefully, because it's possibly at a risk of being a little strange. Now, next up here, Karl, I know you have something queued up there, but I want to go something different first. Let us talk about New Japan. All right, let's talk about this New Japan Cup, the USA thing here, before we get to some more WWE stuff. I want to take a little break from, this is still actually considered North American wrestling, but I want to get outside of AEW and WWE just for a few minutes here. Let's talk about the New Japan Cup 2020 USA. As you can see the graphic. For those not watching the video version, I'll read out the brackets too here. We have Karl Fredericks versus Kenta, Jeff Cobb versus Tonga Loa, David Finlay versus Chase Owens, and Brody King versus Tama Tonga in this first round. Now, these first round matchups have happened at the New Japan Strong Show on August 8th. And to give you just an idea of how things have progressed here, Kenta getting the win over Karl Fredericks, Jeff Cobb getting the win over Tonga Loa, David Finlay over Chase Owens, and Tama Tonga versus Brody King. If you pay attention, you'll realize that basically we had Bullet Club in every single match here, so they did a good job of kind of staggering things a little bit so that it didn't end up with just all Bullet Club guys versus each other. So they mixed it up pretty well here, and there were some interesting matchups here. It was different because there wasn't a whole lot. There wasn't a ton of storyline happening here. It was just we had 4 really good, solid professional wrestling matches with some really marquee talent.
While I agree with you in one aspect, I do not agree with you in another aspect. Okay. Again, my guy Chase Owens getting shafted
again. Yep.
How many times are we going to continue to shaft Chase Owens? If you guys have not seen Chase Owens work, just go to YouTube and Google or type in Chase Owens, Google him, YouTube him, whatever. The guy is a phenomenal worker, and I think is a very underrated star within the world of not just New Japan, but professional wrestling as a whole, people. Mm-hmm. Continuously getting shafted. He almost seems like he's just the leftover guy in the Bullet Club even, and it just like, I'm tired of it. When is Chase Owens going to get his big break? It's needed. It is needed. Other than that, everything else, I mean, great. Like, I'm loving this. And for those of you who really don't know, this is kind of, but correct me if I'm wrong, Big Joe, but I believe that this is actually for shot at the United States Championship within New Japan, correct?
Correct, yeah. B versus John Moxley, who's still holding that title.
Okay, so earlier this year, we had the New Japan Cup 2020 to go for the actual championship belt. And now we've got this tournament to go for the United States Championship. So, New Japan Pro Wrestling really pulling out all the stops here this year. Even though COVID-19 has happened, we're still getting some great stuff coming from New Japan. Yeah. So, I mean, on that's about all I got to say. Chase Owens needs his break. Stop it. Stop it.
The only reason I can see for that move, Karl, is New Japan. I won't say that they hold it against the kind of the outsider talent, but the talent that comes out of their dojo system, they tend to get pushed more often. And David Finlay is a product of the New Japan dojo. So I could see maybe that's possibly part of the reason why they gave him a little nudge there. But you're right, you're correct. Chase does seem to be the underappreciated person inside a Bullet Club. But he'll have his day eventually, and he's still a fantastic worker, and he gets to do a lot of other stuff where he gets to shine. So by no means I think it was this too much of a negative. And as I possibly, I think I mentioned earlier that actually my match of the week is going to come from one of these 4 matches. I'm not going to say which one yet, but it is coming from the tournament here. So stay tuned for that. And I will say just the one big thing, as you notice with Karl and myself, we're both kind of clean shaven. We were rocking kind of like the baby face look. Mr. Tomatonga also doing the same thing, looking very, very slick. I mean, he's a clean shaven boy now, and it looked very, very different, but it's still the kind of the same Tomatonga in there. It was very exciting watching him finally back in a professional wrestling ring, to say the least. All right. Let's shift back over to WWE and NXT, and let us talk about Mr. Adam Cole and this Pat McAfee stuff here. What do you make of this whole kind of situation here, Karl? Because this is actually going to end up tying into our Showstopper segment later on.
Again, this is just coming back to another name that is trying to be used within the WWE to gather ratings. I think that's all that this is. Pat McAfee has a radio show. We had Adam Cole on that radio show, and then things kind of blew up. And now, all of a sudden, let's invite this guy who has no wrestling training to come and work a match, right? Like, I mean, really?
Yeah. That was going to be my first question. Is Pat even, does he have any kind of wrestling training?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. You talk a little bit more. I can do a quick Google search and actually look into.
Good. I can talk more on this.
Right.
You see, what's frustrating about this is that the WWE continues to do this, and they continue to bring in people that might be a name within show business or something like that, and throwing them into the ring. When you have guys that are working the independent circuit that are just clamoring to get a spot like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got within Ignite Wrestling there. I'm sure there's lots of people there that would be in the area
for sure
to be able to go and work this show. I understand, some guys from the Canadian Wrestling's Elite, they really don't have a way to do that because of COVID-19 and everything that's happening with that right now. So there we go. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. So been trained by actually one of the best, Rip Rogers. You see, I haven't seen anything from him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any work done, nothing like that. So he's totally new to me. Which is weird because I'm usually pretty on top of all of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Looking on his past, I mean, he was played college football for West. WWE has a real fascination with football players, I got to say.
Football, yeah.
Yeah. Was drafted to the NFL in 2009 in the 7th round, and playing for the Indianapolis Colts. So, he is previously a football career. So, it seems like a lot of football players want to become professional wrestlers. But, outside of that situation, just the whole setup to this has just been very, very strange. And I don't want to say too much about it yet because it's actually going to tie into our Showstopper segment. But just, it almost kind of feels like that Stephen Amell kind of situation again, where we're bringing in like a quasi kind of celebrity to bring them into a wrestling match. Which, I mean, that's been a staple in professional wrestling for a long time. But I don't know, just modern day, it feels different. It feels different. I don't know if you get that same feeling.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, man. Let's switch over to some AEW stuff going on here. And let's talk about them possibly becoming the dumping ground for previous WWE talent. Because
really?
that's how it's kind of feeling these days. When I watch AEW Dynamite, it feels like we're just bringing everybody that the WWE didn't want. That's how it's kind of feeling, and not to hate on AEW because I do like some of the things that they've been doing. Most recently, the one thing I will give them praise for that debate that they had with Bischoff, Jericho, and Orange Cassidy. I thoroughly enjoyed that segment of having basically Cassidy just silent. But then when it came to those really kind of intellectual moments, they played off as him being smarter than everybody else. That was genius. I don't know whose idea it was. Possibly could have been his. Cassie's actually a good promo on the mic, Karl.
I'll just say
that.
Definitely he is. So as you guys can see down below in the ticker, I do want to give props to these guys here over at 434 on Facebook for this graphic that you're going to see here. But this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what Big Joe is talking about when he talks about a dumping ground. AEW,
right.
all X WWE. As you can see there is a plethora of talent listed or shown in this graphic here that, we're all former WWE workers.
Yep. And, some of it's good and just some of it feels like... maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, but just a lot of times it just feels like we're doing this because we want to stick it to Vince. That's the feeling I'm getting from these guys over in this company. It's like we're bringing in these people just so we can stick it to the old man and go, see, we can do something with these people because you didn't want to. Now, is that the right approach?
Maybe. I mean, I take a look at this. I've got it on my second screen. I'm taking a look here and I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like all friends of somebody within management in that company. So it's very much so. It's I don't want to call it a dumping ground though. I think it's more of just a friendship circle.
There's some clear nepotism going on. I mean, let's not ignore the fact Cody's hiring a lot of his friends, and I mean that's fine and dandy, but we got, like I said, this graphic. Clearly, I'm not the only person that feels this way. Somebody went through the trouble. 434 went through the trouble to make this graphic. So there's other people that share this sentiment, and there are some good talents on this graphic here, Karl.
Yeah,
but it feels like we're doing it just because we want to piss off the old man. And honestly, I'm hoping it has that effect, Karl, because maybe this is the kick in the ass that WWE needs to be like, okay, no, now we need to turn it up a notch because these guys are pissing us off now. Now we need to turn it up. So if that can be the result, I'm fine with it.
Me too. Definitely, right. I will be. Am I angry or ticked off that all of these guys are now in All Elite Wrestling? No, I'm not, because it's only going to help build that brand as well. So, I mean, I'm fine with it. What kind of ticks me off a little bit is when you are now pulling in like your friends like Matt Cardona, right? And then putting him right onto, television and making a big deal about Matt Cardona. Now, don't get me wrong. He's phenomenal. He's a great worker. He's a big name, but I look at somebody like Serpentico, who has paid his dues, who has worked for a couple of other companies, who has even worked with our good friend Kim Artlip over at Ignite Wrestling, his likeness has even been used in storyline. Why did we not capitalize on that when Sammy Guevara made his return dressed like Serpentico? Why did we not have now a little bit of a feud starting between Serpentico and Sammy Guevara to bring him up to, I guess, from Dark to Dynamite?
Now, to play devil's advocate just a little bit here. Now, even when I look at the two, and I'm sure if Rick's still in our chat here, he'll likely agree with me on this. When you look at the two guys, let's say Matt Cardona and you're saying Serpentico, when you look at the two of them, even if not even out side by side, but just look at them individually, Cardona looks like a professional wrestler. Nothing against Serpentico, but when I look at Cardona, I see somebody that is built like a professional wrestler. Like he's like, I mean, not quite that larger than life kind of persona character wise, but I mean, just size wise and just build wise, the dude looks like a professional wrestler. And nothing against these smaller luchador type wrestlers, but when I see Cardona and then I see Serpentico, if I had to pick between the two, I'm putting Cardona on TV. Just saying.
No, and I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I totally get that. What I'm kind of getting at is that, like you've got like Serpentico, who is, just being used on Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're now bringing in somebody that's now taken that spot from somebody like a Serpentico, who's been in the company and been working with the company and doing shows and doing matches.
Mm-hmm.
If that were me, I would be like, are you serious right now? You just slapped me in the face by bringing in your friend, by bringing in your buddy, and now he's got spotlight on TV.
Yep.
And I can't get a little bit of TV time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, are you kidding me right now?
No.
I would feel so upset and so pissed off at that. I would.
Oh, yeah. And some of those sentiments might start coming into effect here because, like you said, even just on this page, a lot of these guys are buddies with Cody, and we're already seeing a little bit of issues. Most notably, I will look at the guy right beside Miss Vicky Guerrero, their old skunk stripe himself there, Mr. Matt Hardy. Even he's already kind of a little upset of his current situation in there. And then in this most recent episode of Dynamite, it looks like Sammy Guevara's got himself in a little bit of trouble again. That was a pretty wicked... I wouldn't even call that a chair shot, Karl. That was just, I'm going to take this chair and I'm going to throw it into your face. And that was not the way that it was supposed to go. And that was a lot of blood for TV.
It definitely was not the way that it was supposed to go, but
Yeah.
I do have to say that that was production's fault.
Yeah.
The proper chair that was to be used. And last week we talked about that. We talked about the different types of chairs where some are, like grade A steel and some of them are more just an aluminum. The wrong chair was put in place.
Looks like it.
And Sammy Guevara, trying to be the professional, had to do the spot, just grabbed the first available chair and chucked it.
Yeah.
And I mean, damage was caused. It definitely was. But so I can't put 100% blame on Sammy Guevara for that. I do have to blame production a little bit there for not having the proper props in place where they should have been.
For sure. All right, Karl, before we go to some more AEW news here, let's take a little bit of a commercial break here and hear from one of our sponsors here. Who are we going to go with this week? Oh, well, you know what? I think these guys make sense for breaking out. Let's hear from our friend Al Snow over at Collar and Elbow brand.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
The dictionary defines hero as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Being a hero in life is far more than words printed on a page. It takes an unwavering code, a compass that points true north, always. And in times like these, it takes sacrifice. Hero shouldn't be a word defined by a dictionary. It's a word that should be defined by the best of us. Hero has a new definition.
There we go, a little word from collarandelbowbrand.com where you can go and use promo code JK Podcast and get 10% off any of your purchases there. And I believe that Shad Gaspard shirt is still there, if I'm not mistaken. So, definitely make sure and check that out. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I'm assuming pretty soon that that Talk and Shop Mania stuff should be showing up on there soon too.
There actually is already Talk and Shop Mania merchandise that is available on collarandelbowbrand.com.
Perfect.
I do want to again thank them so very much for everything that they've done for us, because they brought us on in the very beginning. We are the first sponsored podcast from Collar and Elbow Brand. We're very proud to say that, because they took a chance on us, and we're happy that they did. And again, go and check out collarandelbowbrand.com. Use promo code JK Podcast. We get a little bit of a kickback. You get 10% off, and all of the proceeds from that come to us go towards bringing you these video podcasts and the audio podcasts. So thank you very much to everyone who goes and checks out collarandelbowbrand.com and uses our promo code.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Karl, let's talk a little bit more about Dynamite, specifically Dynamite versus NXT and ratings, which is something we typically we haven't really touched on a whole lot on the show when it comes to television ratings. But now, to be very clear, now this is in a very specific age demographic here. We're talking people aged 18 to 34. This past week, AEW actually exceeded the Raw ratings for this age demographic here, Karl. That, I think, is a significant thing to mention.
Definitely it is. If I am remembering correctly, it was over 900,000 views for that episode of Dynamite that happened. Now, I'm wondering, we need to watch these a little bit closer over the next coming weeks, because they did advertise, and it was pre-taped, and people knew that Eric Bischoff was going to be there. So I'm wondering if Eric Bischoff was the reason why that got to over 900,000.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do I want to see them get over a mil? Definitely. I do. 100% I do. But yeah, it's very interesting that inside this demographic right now, and it's been a trend for a while, even so much that Chris Jericho is now claiming to be the demo god. Shirts out there on Shop AEW for that as well. So really capitalizing on these numbers from this demographic, and really pushing that right now is AEW, and rightfully so.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said earlier in the episode, if this can push WWE to be better, then I think it's a good deal. And in this age group, it's what I think is interesting with that is like this is the real age group that before AEW started. These were the people that were that were at All In. These are the people that were really clamoring for that alternative. So it's not surprising to me that the high viewership is coming from this group of people. I'm not surprised.
Me either. I honestly am not. They're putting out something that's a different from what the WWE is doing, but similar at the same time. So, I mean, like, they're happy to see something in a competition type of sorts to the WWE. They're looking for that alternative, and here is that alternative for them. So definitely that bracket there. I mean, I'm not in that bracket.
Not anymore. You're.
Those of you who don't know, I turned 39 years old today, so I'm not in that bracket anymore. Big Joe isn't in that bracket either. But nope. I mean, we're helping to contribute to rising numbers for them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Big Joe. Are you watching Dynamite on a weekly basis?
I'm not watching it live. I'm watching it taped, just due to the fact that I work an evening job. So when this is being aired live, I'm already on my way out the door, essentially, to head to work. So all the times I'll catch the beginning as I'm heading out, because I have an app to where I can watch TV on my phone, so I can watch a little bit of it like while I'm riding on the bus to go to work and whatnot. But
sure,
the full-on program, I'm usually not getting to watch live. I do record and watch after the fact. Can't say the same for Raw and SmackDown and NXT. I'm just not watching them week to week. My primary professional wrestling that I watch now is New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then AEW on the side.
There we go.
So
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this, Joe? I mean, over 900,000 inside that demographic for AEW right now. I think NXT was just over 700,000, if I'm
Yep.
remembering correctly. Do you see this as just being something because Bischoff was there, or do you see this as an actual trend that's going to continue to go upwards within that demographic up to and including that million mark? What do you think?
yes and yes. Yes to both. We definitely saw a spike because Eric was there. Obviously, you know, Mr. Bischoff is a draw, especially with people in that age group. You know, they probably caught the tail end of WCW and when Eric came over to Raw and all that. So, like I said, it makes sense that people in that demographic where we saw that a bit of a spike. And like I said, if this, I'm hoping that this increase in numbers from the All Elite crew pushes WWE to be better, because that was another reason why we wanted to see competition, is because competition usually, results in the two trying to outdo each other, it pushes the other one to be better, and it should do the same on the other side. But right now it's a little lopsided. WWE's noticing this competition, but they're just kind of staying the course, so to speak. A little bit different stuff like with Underground and whatnot. We're seeing some changes, but we're not really seeing them really rise to the occasion going, hey, okay, we have this company that's legitimately making a dent in our product and our viewership now. We need to step up our game. That's what I want to see.
I do as well. Before we move on, I want to give just a quick little story on Eric Bischoff.
Mm-hmm.
So Eric Bischoff was supposed to be here in Sault Ste. Marie. Unfortunately, due to other commitments with the WWE, because this is back when he signed again with the WWE as a producer role, he had to cancel that tour. He was coming on one of his comedy talking tours. So the wife and I were on the Jericho cruise. And we get into an elevator after coming back in from the Bahamas. And who is there in the elevator with us? None other than Mr. Eric Bischoff. So, of course, we have to say hello, say hi, talk to him for a minute and go, dude, we missed you being able to come to Sault Ste. Marie. We had tickets and everything. It was all good to go. And he goes, I'll tell you what, he says, there's some stuff in the works. Just wait. And then, unfortunately, COVID-19 has happened, so things have been pushed back. But I think, hopefully, after this COVID crap is done, we may see Eric Bischoff going back out, doing some tours, and hopefully, maybe I'll be able to finally go and see one of his shows, and maybe even get that original ticket autographed, because then I'll have something that is very elusive.
That would be cool. All right, let us go. There's not a ton of it here, but we'll definitely still do our segment here. Let us talk a little. Little breaking news here, Karl. Not necessarily breaking news, but just stuff that's kind of popped up since I've put together the run for this episode here. There's an ex-WWE star that wants to face Cody Rhodes for that open challenge for that TNT title. And this is an interesting one because it kind of ties in a little bit to what we played during our commercial break with Mr. Shad Gaspard. This is a guy that actually used to team with him. We're talking JTG wants to challenge Mr. Cody Rhodes for that TNT championship. I love that matchup. I would love to see that.
Me as well. I mean, phenomenal worker, always has been, and very, very, very interested to see what could be done in that type of a matchup. Both phenomenal workers, and I would be enthralled if definitely we could see that.
And just the other brief thing to mention too in this breaking news segment, going back to the Raw Underground thing that they're doing here, that this is supposedly part of a shift that supposedly WWE wants to go to more of like an attitude era again. I don't know about that, Karl, because largely I think there's a lot of people that aren't really aware of this. The reason why things are so kind of toned down and watered down now was because of the attitude era. Right, so as cool and as fun and as outrageous as the Attitude Era was, it's largely why we're in the situation that we're in now with the WWE. So wanting to shift back to it again, I just, first of all, I don't think that the networks are going to go for it. Fox, maybe. USA Network, I'd say probably not. I don't know, Karl. It feels like we're grasping at straws here with WWE, but I don't know. I think that just recycling an old idea again just isn't going to work. We need to come up with some original stuff here. We can't just keep going back to the past over and over and over again.
I 100% agree with you, but it seems to be just the way the WWE seems to do things continuously.
Yeah.
They kind of take what worked and try to use it again. So I mean, we'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a little bit of breaking news as well here,
Sure.
I guess. Not so much really breaking news, but kind of interesting news. Big Joe is a fan of Slipknot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of Slipknot, and I'm a fan of Corey Taylor and everything that Corey Taylor is doing. I want all of you to go to YouTube and look up CMFT. Okay, that's Corey Taylor's new solo artist song. And take a look. Is some appearances from wrestling stars, as well as he is carrying around in some shots a title belt. It's interesting to see, and we know that Corey Taylor is a fan of professional wrestling, so I think it's really cool to see that professional wrestling influence kind of coming over into the music industry again and into music videos. I'm very happy with that. So go and check that out as well. And I want to give a shout out to our friend Bryson Scott. Go and follow him at Mr. Studtacular BS for Bryson Scott at Mr. Spectacular Bryson Scott. Go and follow him on Twitter. He has a campaign going on right now that he keeps pushing Cody Rhodes. He keeps pushing Tony Khan, AEW, tagging Jericho, tagging everybody he can to get his shot at the TNT Championship. We're all for that. Bryson Scott is an amazing guy, and we are super happy to plug that for him as well, as we have done over on our social media at TB Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go and follow at Mr. Studtacular BS on Twitter to catch all of his latest in trying to get a shot at the TNT Championship against Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Karl, let us go to our Match of the Week segment here. All right, I'm going to let you go first this week here, Karl. What is your match of the week for this past week that was professional wrestling?
My match of the week is actually coming, believe it or not, from AEW.
Nice.
Again, I love AEW and everything that they're doing, and especially this match that happened here. Good little build up to this, and we're seeing AEW World Champion Jon Moxley taking on Darby Allin. Honestly, I can't say enough about Darby Allin. This kid is amazing. He is phenomenal at what he does. He can work in the ring. Yeah. He's got good promos. He's got a good like promo video presence, I guess you could say. Kind of almost has that like Jake the Snake Roberts type of talk and aura to him. Kind of a little bit dark, creeped out type of thing. He actually walked down to the ring wearing a cutout paper face mask of Jon Moxley.
Yeah, that's genius.
One eye was covered up and the other one was cut open so that he could see where he was going. Just those small little details put into this little feud that was going on. I loved it. I was super excited for that. And then seeing Darby Allin come down to the ring like that was just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, just he's gotten so over with the audience there, and Mox has been putting him over big time. He says that he's his favorite guy in AEW. He's like, but when you challenge me, like, it's on now. I'm gonna destroy you, regardless of whether I like you or not. Just and that promo that Mox did lead up to that was fantastic too. You can go find that probably online somewhere. And just fantastic stuff there. And Darby Allin, it was. If you would have told me at the beginning that he was going to be one of these guys that was really going to stand out, I would have said, maybe. But I mean, clearly, he is somebody who has some significance there. And to think to look at where he he was essentially homeless at one point, and now he's a marquee player over in that company. So congratulations to him. Hard work does pay off.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely
good stuff for him.
So we both know, and everyone else that's listening and watching knows, that Big Joe's pick this week is coming from New Japan Pro Wrestling. But there were 4 matchups that happened there. Big Joe, I'm curious, which one was it?
We are talking the final match for the evening. It was it aired on August 7th on New Japan Pro Wrestling World. We were talking Mr. Brody King versus Tama Tonga. That very last match in that first round. It was just fantastic. I mean, it's always cool to see Brody in that ring. I mean, he's a big hoss, and he moves quickly and does a lot of stuff that a bigger guy necessarily shouldn't be able to do. But then, I mean, just any chance, and this was Tama Tonga's first match back. Anytime I have a chance to watch him in the ring, it's always fantastic. He works really hard. He did really great character work. Even when he's getting his ass kicked, he sells really well. He's somebody that I want to see really get to that upper echelon, because I mean, he has it. He has it. He's like, if you were to take Roman Reigns, but actually be cool, you would have Tama Tonga, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, just to say, and I necessarily wouldn't mind a match between those two at some point. If you could make it happen somehow, I think that would actually be intriguing, especially for Roman to have a match with Tama, because there's so much stuff that you can play off there. But I mean, just on Tama Tonga himself, just like I said, any chance I get to watch him in a ring, it's likely going to be a contender for match of the week for me. So now that he's back in action, it's probably going to become a regular occurrence that his matches are going to be popular with me.
As they should be. As they should be.
All right, man. You know what? Let's take another brief break here before we do our Showstopper segment. Let us hear from our friends over at Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Hi, my name's Barry Radcliffe. You might recognize me from such films as The Longest Ride or Dead 2. Now, as a successful actor, I have 2 planes, a supermodel wife, countless exotic cars, and a ton of cash. You might think it couldn't get any better than this, but you'd be wrong. For only $4.99, you could get OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. That's OVWWrestlingNetwork.com for only $4.99. Now, will your life be as good as this? No. Will it be better? Yes, and I guarantee that. That's not valid anywhere. OVWWrestlingNetwork.com is only $4.99. Tomorrow's yesterday is today. Prices so low, they're insane.
Should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
So there you go, a little word from our friends over at OVW, and of course our new partners over at thechairshot.com. Thanks to those guys for showcasing us over there. All right, let us end off the episode here with our Showstopper segment. Now, this Showstopper segment this week ties back over to the Adam Cole and Pat McAfee situation here. I'll let you put up the graphic here, Karl, and then I'm going to kind of break down how I kind of feel about this situation, and we'll start the conversation. So essentially, for this storyline here, we had Adam Cole appearing on Pat McAfee's radio podcast show, whatever it is that he's doing there. I think it's tied into the WWE network, I think, as well. Possibly, I'm not sure. I'm out of the loop so much with the WWE stuff these days. But we had what appeared to be Adam Cole actually like F you, blah, 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 and walking out like legitimate heat with McAfee. Okay, we walked out. And then later on social media, they kiss and they make up. And then in the following days, then we have them now in a feud. Like, and we're supposed to believe now that, okay, so they hate each other, they made up, and now they hate each other again. You know, this again brings up the issue of social media killing things here.
Definitely it is. We had talked about, we threw out the word kayfabe. It really ties into this. I mean, is kayfabe totally dead? Like, is it totally gone? Unfortunately, as I've said before, I think it really is. In the age of social media and everything that's going on right now, it is very hard to keep that kayfabe, especially like you said, there was heat, and then all of a sudden there's photos of them online making up. Like, what's going on here? So you were okay. I get it. You're pissed off with each other, and now you tied up the loose ends, and everything's good. But now, why we're having a match against each other for what reason? Now we made up already. This is making absolutely no sense.
Yeah, you've said several times, and I've mentioned it too, and other people have, that kayfabe is dead. But I mean, we have to try and kind of have to maintain the illusion somehow, because I've always said that I feel that professional wrestling is at its best when we are fully invested and we're tied into kind of what's going on. But if the curtain's constantly being pulled back, I mean, it's so hard to really kind of get into this stuff. I know sometimes we can be a little guilty of that on this program too, where we break kayfabe and we talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff. But I mean, we're talking about the actual product being presented here, and when you're breaking kayfabe on essentially your own programming, I mean, damn, like it's hard, man. And just another reason why and this happens so much with WWE, and AEW is guilty of it too. I'm not gonna
they are
to let them get away with it. New Japan and some of these other companies seem to be better at hiding it than others, but this kind of stuff just drives me crazy, Karl. Drives me crazy.
It does me too. I mean, you and I both grew up in the age of kayfabe. We grew up not really knowing. Those lines were blurred, and we were like, is this real or is this not? I've said it before. I go back to when Earthquake was like jumping around the ring and then butt planted onto Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan was wheeled out and then clutching his cross, and I was like, they killed him. Like, he's internally, he's dead.
Yep.
Right? Like, I mean, back then I believed that. I mean, I know I'm like 39 years old and things have changed a little bit. I get it. I've clued in and clicked in a little bit more into the world of professional wrestling. But back then I was like 10, 12, 13 years old, maybe 11. We'll throw 11 in there too. And 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds today all know what's happening in the business because of the internet.
Yep.
And it blows my mind. Like, I wish that it would just get back to blurring those lines a little bit. And hopefully, I mean, we talked about Raw Underground at the very beginning of the show. Hopefully, maybe this blurs those lines a little bit for some of these younger people. I mean, for myself, even, it's kind of blurred a little bit. I'm going, so what's actually going on here right now? Let's try to figure this out. So I don't know. That's my take on it. This seems to be a hot button issue that keeps on coming up for us. But yeah, I mean, again, clearly when we get something like this happening with Adam Cole and Pat McAfee, it's got to be talked about again.
It's got to be talked about again, and it raises a bit of a bigger question with this here, Karl. If kayfabe truly is done, if it's essentially non-existent, can that work long term in the world of professional wrestling? Can pro wrestling exist and make it long term without kayfabe whatsoever? And I gotta say no. Like I said, I think that we really need to have this element of, okay, we have average people watching, people do extraordinary things, and the audience has to be made to believe that, okay, this isn't something that just the guy sitting here in the seat watching thinking, okay, I know I can do that, right? That for me, it doesn't work. People need to be in awe and looking at the stuff happening, go, geez, like that's something I can never do. I mean, that was incredible. That element is gone. I don't know that pro wrestling can exist long term if we can't have that element, or at least some factor of that.
I think personally it can,
Okay.
but there's got to be a total shift in the way that professional wrestling is brought to people. Then doing live events and doing house shows and stuff like that can't happen anymore. But you're going to have to go to a more of a cinematic type of programming where you're taping absolutely everything. And then people are going to kind of go, oh, well, we know that this is cinematic. We know that this is, we know that it's not, I hate saying that it's not real because it kind of is. I know I've been there inside there. I know how real it feels getting smashed with a kendo stick. So, I mean, like it's hard because you got to blur those lines a little bit. Like I've talked about before. And I mean, if you're not going to blur those lines, then make it look more cinematic. Make it look more like a film production or a movie or a television show where people understand that this is acting as opposed to sport.
I would agree with that. I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Karl, that if the whole concept of kayfabe is just done, then fine, so be it. But I think the way to get around is like what you said, is that we pre-record and we have the stuff in the can so that fans and stuff aren't getting all the inside information as it's kind of happening. Because when it's happening live, the things seem to get leaked a lot more often. I think if you go into this production mode and you go with the more cinematic feel, then maybe we can salvage that approach a little bit. Honestly, I think at this point that's the only way. That if we wanted to maintain that this is something that's happening, almost kind of outside of reality type of a situation. Because I mean, otherwise, if you're just doing what they're doing now, I don't think it's going to work. As with the idea of kayfabe being basically non-existent, you got to go to this recorded cinematic feel.
Yep.
I really think that's
no. I share those exact same sentiments.
And thankfully, some of them are trying it to some mixed success so far. WWE's done a little bit, Impact's done a little bit, AEW not so much. They do it in their vignettes and their segments, but not so much in the actual matches. But yeah, we'll keep watching and see how it kind of goes. But I think that it could possibly work. It's definitely going to be a bit of a rough transition, especially for old school fans like us, though. To go from that real kind of in-ring type of feel to a more kind of a cinematic thing. For myself, I'm going to eventually I'll go with it, but I'm going to go into a kicking and screaming. I'm not going to go willingly because I like good old traditional professional wrestling in a ring. But I'm not totally ignorant to the new trends and whatnot. But it's a rough transition if we're going to that cinematic feel.
Definitely it is. I do have to mention, people, if you've been watching, you see me playing with my headphones a little bit here. It's because they keep falling out of my ear. I'm looking up at the thermometer right now, and it's 105.5 degrees inside this room that I'm in because of the outside temperature and the inside temperature. So it is hot in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention that even in 105 degree Fahrenheit weather, we still bring you this, definitely, because we have to every Monday on our social media at TB Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You're going to find us. Well, just on Facebook right now because Instagram doesn't allow us to go live with them, and Twitter uses Periscope, so it's an extra app and it's something else for people to download. We don't want to have you go and download a whole bunch of stuff, but we're on the big three: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TB Talk Pod. I do want to mention quickly before we go for this episode that we now have our own merchandise available. Everybody, if you want to support us, this is going to be the best way for you to do it. The banner link down below, you see it says turnbuckle-talk.myshopify.com. Type that into your browser. Go there. Check out the plethora of items. I think there's 16 different items that are available on there right now, with more to come. There is going to be more. go and check it out. Make a purchase from there, and it'll get shipped to you. I just received today. It's still all packaged up, but ordered for the spouse the banner logo mug.
Nice.
It came today. Last week, you guys saw the Turnbuckle Talk classic logo shirt. Big Joe has his coming to him as well. It is shipped and en route. I don't know if he got a notification about that, but I sure did. And it shouldn't be too long for Big Joe to get his, probably by the 12th, it says, because it was just coming from Mississauga, Ontario. So go and do that, because that's probably going to be the easiest way for you to support us, is just go and buy a shirt. Not only are you going to look amazingly fashionable, but you're also going to help us, because we get some kickback from that as well for selling it. And again, just like our sponsors, Collar and Elbow and PhoenixFit.com, we get a little bit of that kickback, which only goes towards these video broadcasts and the audio podcasts, so that we can bring you this amazing stuff every week.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned when we were talking about the temperature in Fahrenheit, Karl, we live in Canada. We go by Celsius.
I understand that, but this thing, when we moved in, was in Fahrenheit. So I don't know how to switch it. I've just left it there.
It's been a running gag with Mr. Richard Brunson Vickery and myself ripping each other on the temperatures. We go by Celsius, and you people down in the States go by Fahrenheit. And that's just the way it is, folks. And when I look, it's weird when I hear temperature in Fahrenheit. I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me. And then obviously they hear our temperature and they think that that's weird too. So it is what it is. And
well, for those of you in Canada where you're looking 105.5 is probably about 40 Celsius.
Yeah, it's toasty.
So there you go.
Because when we say 40, they're like, that's not hot, that's cold.
Right? All the time. All the time I get it.
It is not cold. It is toasty. Even I have a fan going here in the studio just to kind of keep things tolerable. All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up here for this week, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Have a nice day.
It's me. It's an honor to be the beat. As you can tell in the background, we are out celebrating. That is what we do here at hittingthemarks.com. And I invite everyone to continue to tune in to Turnbuckle Talk, but check out all of our other shows we have. You can find that all at hittingthemarks.com.
Run.